Like many people, I'm a big fan of Civilization 5. At 177 hours, I haven't exactly racked up a record playtime compared with most other hardcore players, but I love it nonetheless, and I've even managed to collect around half of its 287 achievements. It has such rich gameplay. You always expect to see something different each and every time you wipe the board clean for a new game. And even if you don't win, there's always the fun of exploring a new strategy or learning about history. Needless to say, myself and many others had high expectations for Civilization Beyond Earth. At a first glance, Beyond Earth could easily be mistaken as a sci-fi mod for Civ 5. In fact, a lot of the core mechanics have remained completely the same. The familiar hex board is returned with its similar landscapes, gold is now energy and happiness is now health, while culture and science have remained completely unchanged. Barbarians are now aliens, and trading and espionage have returned and are featured more prominently early game. The social policies, which are now called virtues, have been cut down to 4 tracks but go much deeper than Civ 5 and offer more generalized rewards. What's new is the addition of a quest system, which rewards you for performing small tasks such as killing aliens. They're varied towards the beginning of the game, but as you progress they tend to devolve into binary choices that offer small but tangible rewards. There's also the addition of satellites that reside in the new orbital layer, and produce a variety of effects on the tiles beneath them. It's an interesting concept, but I use them less than I would have liked to, though there is the tantalizingly named Planet Carver that's about as glorious as it sounds. They've also replaced the linear technology tree with a technology web, allowing you to push your research in many more directions. This is actually a major departure from before, since the further you get in the game, the more technologies will be open to you. It can be quite confusing at first, and you'll probably be finding yourself hunting down a building somewhere in the web until you get it memorized. This change in strategy is staggering, however, since there are now hundreds of ways to explore the technology web and many more unanticipated strategies than before. Espionage has returned, but has been vastly improved. You can now assign missions to agents located in other cities, allowing you to steal science and technologies or even stage coups and plant dirty bombs. The benefits of completing your missions are substantial, especially staging a coup, which literally allows you to take over enemy cities without spilling a drop of blood. It's actually a great step up, allowing for espionage to play a much larger role in the game overall. Perhaps the most noticeable change, however, is the game's shift towards its new affinity system. Earlier on, you're going to have to choose one of 3 belief systems that will alter your civilization's progress and also determine how you will win. Each affinity path will allow the player to construct different types of buildings and upgrade the units with a variety of bonuses. The first 2 options are purity and supremacy, neither of which take too kindly to the indigenous creatures on your new home. The third option is purity for the kale-eating hippie folks, though I hear they later get to ride siege worms like space cowboys, so I won't scoff too much. The new victory conditions are based heavily around these affinities. In fact, 3 of them are aimed specifically at each affinity path. The remaining 2 options are plain old domination and contact, where you make first contact with extraterrestrial species. With the exception of domination, though, each of these victories plays out in almost the exact same way. All 4 are essentially science-based, with the player required to research a handful of pre-selected technologies before constructing a wonder that will enable their victory. This loss of the diplomatic and cultural victories means that research and military will predominate much of the game. I'm sure there will be lots of talk to come about how this alters the micro-strategy. For example, one of the new obstacles you have to face is miasma, a toxic substance that harms your units but heals aliens. Cities are also now mind-blowingly easy to take compared to Civ 5, whereas it was nearly impossible to do so without the Age of Siege units before. Nevertheless, it feels like there's a lot less depth to Beyond Earth compared to Civ 5. Gone are the great artists, engineers, and prophets that offered you unique bonuses. Wonders make a small return, but they're much fewer in number and tend to offer flat bonuses compared to the strategy-altering advantages from before. There's also staggeringly fewer civilizations to choose from, and even though the customizable starting bonuses make for some good early game strategizing, it destroys the variety of playstyles that made Civilization so replayable. Frankly, I'm not ashamed to admit that I expected more from Beyond Earth. It feels like it's lost a lot of what made Civ 5 so charming. Civilization 5 is a sort of celebration of Earth's history. You play as Earth's mightiest empires, construct our most wondrous monuments, earn great people named after influential geniuses, and recreate some of our most profound poetry and artwork. Hell, even the soundtrack is a showcase of some of history's greatest compositions. There was a natural progression to the game as you advanced from the ancient to modern eras, always trying to outpace your opponent in some fashion. On the other hand, there's no narrative to Beyond Earth, if I may complain about such a thing in a game like Civilization. It simply feels like there's a race to the victory conditions. What the heck is this floatstone stuff? Why am I corralling space beetles? With the lack of culture and religion in Beyond Earth, it's hard to tell just what your people are supposed to be like. In Civ 5, the leaders are characters themselves, reacting to your presence in colorful, humorous ways. Beyond Earth has leaders, but since they're all fictitious, each one feels about as replaceable as the next. I might as well have been playing as the color purple for all the good my Civ did me. Lastly, something really needs to be done about the announcer. It sounds petty, but when your expectation level is set to the gravitas of Spock from Civ 4 or the smooth baritone of William Shepard's voice from Civ 5, you come to see the narration as a feature of the series. The new narrator feels like a step back from both of these. I don't think her voice carries the impact to be delivering powerful quotes, which are sadly fictitious to boot, making them feel all the more meaningless as well. What, they couldn't find actual quotes about robots? Read Isaac Asimov, for crying out loud. There's half of your quotes right there. Nevertheless, I think it's a bit too early in Beyond Earth's life cycle to make any harsh judgments just yet. Civilization 5 is a great game, but its full potential didn't unfold until they added its game-changing DLC. Likewise, I have hope that small tweaks to the gameplay will make Beyond Earth more playable in the future. It's certainly not a step up from Civ 5 like I'm sure we all hoped, but give Beyond Earth time and it may soar.